The gripping new testimony before the American people, the relentless pressure from former President Trump and his allies on state officials to change the election outcome, to replace the appointed electors after Biden won key states with fake pro-Trump electors and send them to Washington to be counted instead. Tonight, right here, you will hear from the Republican officials and lawmakers from key states describing their interactions with the former president, what he wanted them to do, and then what happened to them when they didn't go along with it. The emotional testimony today from Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers, who was a staunch Trump supporter, and what the former president asked him to do. Bowers saying, "This has never been done in U.S. history. I will not break my oath." The never-before-seen images tonight, how they were harassed when they wouldn't go along with the scheme. Some of those people harassing them would later show up in the Capitol on January 6th. And tonight you will hear about the coordinated campaign to replace electors in several battleground states, the real ones on the left there, with the fake elector certificates on the right, pro-Trump electors instead. They wanted to send them to Washington to flip the election to Trump. And Georgia election worker Shay Moss, who worked several elections, she recruited her mother, Ruby Freeman, in 2020. The president and Rudy Giuliani and others publishing a video and circulating a theory that she and her mother were involved in wrongdoing with some of the ballots, but that simply was not true. And then what happened to their lives afterward. Her mother's words, the last testimony of the day, now saying there's nowhere I feel safe, and asking, isn't the president of the United States supposed to protect us, all of us? Our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, leading us off.
Today, the January 6th committee showed how Donald Trump tried to pressure state officials to overturn the 2020 election, including staunch Trump supporters. Exhibit A, Rusty Bowers, Arizona's Republican Speaker of the House, who had been a solid Trump supporter. Trump himself even calling Bowers, putting Rudy Giuliani on the phone, who claimed to have evidence of fraud.
You are asking me to do something against my oath, and I will not break my oath.
Trump and Giuliani wanted Bowers to convene a special session of the Arizona legislature to throw out the electoral votes Joe Biden won and replace them with a phony slate of pro-Trump electors. Giuliani was relentless.
He would say, aren't we all Republicans here? I would think we would get a better reception.
Bowers kept asking Giuliani for evidence of fraud.
He said, we've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence.
Did anyone provide you with evidence of election fraud sufficient to affect the outcome of the presidential election in Arizona?
No one provided me ever such evidence.
Even though Bowers was a staunch Trump supporter, he believed what Trump and his allies were asking him was immoral and illegal.
And I said, you're asking me to do something that's never been done in history, the history of the United States, and I'm going to put my state through that without sufficient proof, and that's going to be good enough with me? That I would put us through that, my state, that I swore to uphold both in Constitution and in law? No, sir.
As Trump and his allies went public with their pressure campaign, Bowers paid a steep personal price. His office was bombarded with thousands of messages, and Trump supporters hit him at home as well.
We have various groups come by, and they have had video panel trucks with videos of me proclaiming me to be a pedophile and a pervert and a corrupt and politician, and blaring loudspeakers in my neighborhood.
At the time, his daughter, terminally ill with cancer, was at his home.
We had a daughter who was gravely ill, who was upset by what was happening outside. And my wife, that was a valiant person, very, very strong, quiet, very strong woman. So it was disturbing.
His daughter died of cancer just days after Trump left the White House. Although the price he paid was steep, Bowers says he does not regret standing up to Donald Trump.
It is painful to have friends who have been such a help to me turn on me with such rancor. I do not want to be a winner by cheating.
A similar drama played out in Georgia, where the Republican Secretary of State, also a Trump supporter, refused to go along with Trump's demands.
Look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
What I knew is that we didn't have any votes to find. We had continued to look. We investigated, like I just shared the numbers with you. There were no votes to find. That was an accurate count that had been certified.
Here, too, the pressure was intense and it was personal.
Eventually, my wife started getting the text, and hers typically came in as sexualized texts, which were disgusting. And then some people broke into my daughter-in-law's home, and my son has passed, and she's a widow and has 2 kids, and so we're very concerned about her safety also.
The committee then called a Georgia election worker, Shay Moss, who along with her mother, Ruby Freeman, was falsely accused of election tampering by Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani.
Ruby Freeman and Shay Freeman Moss and one other gentleman quite obviously surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine.
What was your mom actually handing you on that video?
A ginger mint.
The accusations were bogus, but they triggered an avalanche of threats from Trump supporters.
A lot of threats, wishing death upon me, telling me that, I'll be in jail with my mother, and saying things like, be glad it's 2020 and not 1920.
Moss's mother, Ruby, sat behind her at the hearing. Donald Trump attacked her by name some 18 times in a single phone call with Georgia's top election official.
Ruby Freeman, she's a vote scammer, a professional vote scammer and hustler.
In videotaped testimony, Freeman describes the toll that took on her life.
My community in Georgia, where I was born and lived my whole life, knew me as Lady Ruby. I wore a shirt that proudly proclaimed that I was, and I am, Lady Ruby. Now I won't even introduce myself by my name anymore. I get nervous when I bump into someone I know in the grocery store who says my name. I'm worried about who's listening.
I no longer give out my business card. I don't transfer calls. I don't want anyone knowing my name. I haven't been anywhere at all. I've gained about 60 pounds. I just don't do nothing anymore.
There is nowhere I feel safe. Nowhere. Do you know how it feels to have the President of the United States to target you? The President of the United States is supposed to represent every American, not to target one. But he targeted me, Lady Ruby, a small business owner, a mother, a proud American citizen who stand up to help Fulton County run an election in the middle of the pandemic.
John Carl with us tonight live from Capitol Hill. They wanted to talk about how their lives have changed, how they don't feel safe anymore. Former President Trump well aware, by the way, that the Speaker of the Arizona House, Rusty Bowers, would be testifying today. In fact, the former president released a statement beforehand claiming that in a phone call shortly after the election that Bowers told him the election in Arizona was rigged, that Trump had won in Arizona. So Bowers was asked, you and I were watching as this played out today, right at the start of the hearing, is that true? Did he tell Trump it was rigged?
According to Bowers, Trump is simply lying about that. He told the committee, quote, anywhere, anyone, anytime who has said that I said the election was rigged, that would not be true. David?
John Carl leading us off tonight. John, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.